Hello everyone. Today we will be discussing about phonetics, which is a branch of linguistics. First of all, let me give you a definition of phonetics. Phonetics is the branch of linguistics that studies how humans produce and perceive sounds. It is the study of the measurable physical properties of speech sounds. And the major subcategories of phonetics are articulatory phonetics, acoustic phonetics, and auditory phonetics. Articulatory phonetics is the study of how speech sounds are articulated or produced, and acoustic phonetics studies about the transmission of sounds. Auditory phonetics studies how the sounds are perceived by the ear. Another topic of importance is phonology. Phonology investigates the mental system for representing and processing speech sounds within particular language. It is a branch of linguistics that studies how language or dialects systematically organize their sounds. Let me give you a short difference between phonetics and phonology. When phonetics is the study of the ways in which speech sounds are produced, phonology is the study of how speech sounds of a language are used in that language to distinguish meaningful units from each other. Let me take you to another important section, which is International Phonetic Alphabet or IPA. International Phonetic Alphabet is an alphabetic system of phonetic notation based primarily on the Latin script. It is an internationally agreed upon system of transcription in which symbols correspond straightforwardly to the sounds. There are enough symbols to represent all the sounds of world's language, and it is devised by the International Phonetic Association. And as you all know, occasionally letters or diacritics are added or removed or either modified by the International Phonetic Association. The guiding principle of IPA is that each individual speech sound corresponds to a unique symbol, and thus English has 24 consonant sounds, 12 vowel sounds, and 8 diphthongs. Let's move on to another topic, stress. The English language gives great importance to stress, and thus English is a stress-based language. Stress can be defined as the degree of force with which each syllable of a word is pronounced. Thus, the syllable which is stressed is called stressed syllable. And when it comes to transcription of a word, a transcriber has to decide how much detail is needed depending on the uses to which the transcription will be put to. For a precise description of sounds, a lot of detail regarding stress is to be needed, and this kind of transcription is known as narrow transcription. For a description of word order in sentence, much less detail is needed, and thus that kind of transcription is known as broad transcription. Narrow transcriptions are enclosed within square brackets, and broad transcriptions are given in slashes. As you all know, based on the number of syllables, words can be categorized into monosyllabic words, disyllabic words, and so on. In monosyllabic words, stress is obviously on the initial sound. There are instances where the same word acts as a noun and also as a verb. For example, in the word refund, as a verb, the second vowel is stressed, and when it is used as a noun, the first vowel has a more stress. Now, we will be discussing about articulatory phonetics. Articulatory phonetics is the branch of phonetics that discusses or studies how sounds are articulated. The use of spoken language involves a complicated series of operations. The concept in the speaker's brain is given a linguistic form which is communicated by the nerves to the speech organs. As a result of movement of these speech organs, disturbances are set up in the air in the form of sound waves, and these sound waves are received by the listener's ears. The nerves carry sensation to the brain where the sounds are perceived and their meaning is interpreted. The study of how speech sounds are formed in the mouth or articulatory organs is called articulatory phonetics. The windpipe carrying the airstream from the lungs is called trachea, a bit biological but it is relevant in phonetics. At the top of the trachea is the larynx, which contains the vocal cords. The vocal cords can be brought together to close the air passage completely. This is what we do when you cough, for example. The air from the lungs is first held up and then suddenly released by separating the vocal cords. When we breathe out, the vocal cords are wide apart and the opening between them is called the glottis. If vocal cords are held together rather loosely, they vibrate when the air from the lungs passes between them. This vibration, that is, the closing and opening of the glottis at a fast rate, produce a musical note called voice. Depending upon the ways in which the vocal cords are kept, speech sounds can be voiceless and voiced. Speech sounds can be either voiced when they are loosely held together and vibrate, and voiceless sounds are produced when the vocal cords are far apart and they do not vibrate. This difference is very evident in the sounds s and z, where the first s is a voiceless sound which does not create a vibration, whereas z is a sound that creates a vibration and thus is voiced. The next topic that we are going to discuss is classification and description of speech sounds. Speech sounds may be broadly classified into two, as you all know, vowels and consonants. First, let me take you through vowels. Vowels are voiced sounds during the production of which air escapes through the mouth freely and continuously, unaccompanied by any audible fictional noise. Vowels are thus articulated with a structure of open approximation. Let me give you a definition. What is meant by vowel limit? The highest level to which the tongue can be raised and a sound produced without any frictional noise is called vowel limit. Vowels can be classified based on the position of lips, the part of the tongue that is raised, and the height to which it is raised. This is called the three-term labels for vowels. According to the position of lips, vowels can be classified into two categories, rounded and unrounded vowels. Rounded vowels are those during the production of which lips are rounded, that is, drawn together so that the opening between them is more or less round. For example, vowels like oo as in pool and o as in short have rounded lip position, as you can experience yourself. There are two main types of rounding called closed lip rounding as in oo and open lip rounding as in o. The second category based on the position of lips is unrounded vowels. Unrounded vowels are obviously those during the articulation of which the lips are spread or kept apart as in a neutral position. Vowels like E as in seat are unrounded vowels. If the spread of the lip is clearly marked, it is termed as spread vowels, and if not so, they are neutral vowels, which all come under the category of unrounded vowels. The second division of vowels based on the part of the tongue which is raised, vowels can be classified into front vowels, back vowels and central vowels. Front vowels are those during the production of which the front part of the tongue is raised towards the hard palate. Again, the front part of the tongue is raised towards the hard palate. There will be sufficient space between the front part of the tongue and the hard palate so that the air can escape without any friction. For example, English vowels E as in beat. The second in this category is back vowels, which are those during the production of which the back part of the tongue is raised towards the soft palate, leaving sufficient space between them so that the air can escape without friction. For back vowels, we have examples. The English vowel A as in calm and U as in cool. The third division in this category is central vowels. Central vowels are those during the articulation of which the center part of the tongue, the part where the front and back part of the tongue precisely meet, the center part of the tongue is raised towards that part of the mouth where the hard palate and soft palate, English vowels in the word cup and in the word heard, which is are examples for central vowels. The third category, on the basis of the height to which the tongue is raised, vowels can be classified as, so close vowels are those during the production of which the tongue is raised close to the roof of the mouth. The tongue is raised close to the roof of the mouth to produce close vowels. For example, we have E as in heat and U as in cool. Open vowels, the another category, are those vowels during the production of which the tongue is kept low, that is far away from the roof of the mouth. When the tongue is kept far away from the roof of the mouth, we have open vowels as in calm and cat. We can distinguish the two intermediate classes, half close and half open vowels. Half close vowels are those during the production of which the tongue occupies a position 1/3 of the distance from close to open, and for half open the tongue is 2/3 at a distance of half close and open. The next classification of speech sounds is consonants. Consonants include both voiced and voiceless sounds, oral and nasal sounds. Consonants are described with the help of a 3-term label where the labels relate to the glottis, the place of articulation and the manner of articulation. The state of glottis determines whether the sound is voiced or voiceless, as we have discussed earlier. The place of articulation refers to the various organs that play an important part in the production of sound. The manner of articulation, on the other hand, refers to the stricture, that is, the passage of air that comes out from the lungs, whether it is allowed to go freely or restricted. Based on the place of articulation and the labeling, consonants are classified into several groups. The first one, labial consonants. Labial consonants, as the name describes, are certain consonants that require the help of the lips or the labium. Such sounds are called labial sounds. There are 4 labial sounds to be precise in English. They are p as in pig, pine, apple, b as in beat, bag, bomb, m as in mango, mat, and w as in woman, watch. The second division is labiodental. Here, only one of the lips, that is the lower lip, which is the active articulator, and the upper row of teeth, that is the lower lip and the upper row of teeth, are involved in the production of sound. Example, f as in fan, fashion, and v as in van and velum. The third category is dental consonants. These are consonants produced with the tip of the tongue against the upper row of the teeth. The tip of the tongue against the upper row of the teeth. There are 2 dental consonants in English, as in thick, think, which is the consonant th, and the consonant, the sound, as in father and rhythm. The next division is alveola sounds. These are sounds produced with the help of alveolum, which is the teeth ridge. The tip or blade of the tongue touches the alveolar ridge and thus produces alveolar sounds. There are 6 alveolar sounds in English. They are t as in tap, tip, d as in dog, dip, l as in love, leaf, n as in new, not, s sound as in sap, seat, Z sound as in zone, zip. The next category is post-alveolar sounds. In these sounds, the tip of the tongue and the back part of the alveolar ridge are involved in the production of sounds, and these consonants are called post-alveolar consonants. The only post-alveolar sound in English is R. R is the only post-alveolar sound in English. The next category is palato-alveolar sounds. Here, the front part of the tongue, including the tip and the blade, is raised towards the hard palate. That is, the front part, the entire front part of the tongue including the tip of the tongue and the blade of the tongue is raised towards the hard palate. The alveolum is also involved in this and thus given the name palato-alveolar consonants. There are 4 palato-alveolar sounds. They are sh sound as in ship, shower, r sound as in measure, vision, pleasure, ch sound as in church, chin, and j sound as in judge, jug. The 7th category, palatal sounds. In this kind of consonants, the front part of the tongue is raised towards the roof of the mouth or the palate. This category has only one sound, that is, the only palatal sound in English is y as in yellow, yolk. The 8th category is velaric. The sound involves the velum or the soft palate. The back of the tongue is raised towards the soft palate or the velum. There are 3 velaric sounds in English. They are k, g and ng, as in kite, king. G in garden, girl, and ng in king, thing. The 9th and the final category is glottal sounds. Glottal sounds are produced in the glottis. Glottis, as you all know, is the space between the vocal cords. The one and only glottal sound in English is h, as in howl, hard. Consonants are classified based on the manner of articulation, which is the second kind of categorization. Manner of articulation is defined as the restriction in the air passage as the air is expelled out of the lungs. The restriction in the air passage as the air is expelled out of the lungs. This is called stricture. Based on the manner of articulation, consonants can be classified as plosives, affricates, fricatives, nasal, laterals, rolltrill, semivowels or gliding consonants. The first category, that is plosives. A plosive is a consonant in the production of which the air is completely stopped and suddenly released. The air is completely stopped and suddenly released. The blocked air then escapes with a small explosive sound and thus given the title plosives. There are 6 plosives in English. They are p as in pot, pit, pen, b as in bag, balloon, t as in tear, top, d as in dinner, doll, k as in king, kind, g as in green, grow, glow. And the structure for plosives is complete closure and sudden release. The second category, affricates. These sounds are produced just like plosives. The only difference is that the articulatory organs are separated slowly. In case of plosives, we had a sudden release. Here, the release of air is in a slow manner. The air coming from the lungs is blocked first but released with an audible friction. There are 2 affricates in English. They are ch sound as in chalk, chin, church, and j sound as in judge, jug. The structure for affricates is complete closure and gradual release. The third category, fricatives. Fricative sounds are produced when the articulators are brought close together and the air escapes through a narrow space between them. The air escapes through the narrow space between the closed articulators. The resulting sound is like a hiss. They are s sound as in sound, song, z as in zip, zone, sh as in ship, she, shoulder, r as in measure, pleasure, f as in fan, fun, v as in van, voice, th as in thick, thing, the as in then, that, h as in heard, hall. The structure for fricatives is close approximation. The fourth category is nasals. Nasal consonants are produced with a soft palate in a lowered position. When the soft palate is in a lowered position, we have nasal consonants. The oral passage is closed and the air escapes thus through the nose. There are three nasal sounds in English. They are m sound as in mother, model, n as in nose, nine, and ng as in king. The structure for nasals is complete oral closure. The fifth kind of consonants is laterals. A lateral is produced with the oral passage blocked at the center and the air escapes through the side. When the oral passage is blocked at the center, giving a way for the sound to escape through air to escape through the sides, produce laterals. The only lateral in English is l as in love, leave. The structure for laterals is partial oral closure. The sixth category is roll or trill. In the production of a roll or a trill, the tip of the tongue strikes against the hard palate either once or repeatedly. An example for roll or trill is r sound as in bright, receive, frame, etc. The structure for roll or trill is intermittent closure. The sound R can be pronounced in a different way according to the position it comes in certain words. The three manners of articulation of the same consonant sound r can be classified as roll or trill, flaps or taps, and frictionless continuant. And the seventh and final category of consonants is semivowels or approximants or gliding consonants. The seventh category is known by three names. They are semivowels, approximants, or gliding consonants. They are partial consonants that begin like vowels. The beginning of these consonants sounds similar to a vowel sound. Semivowels may be said to be phonemically equivalent with vowels. Examples are y sound and v sound. Y sound in yes, yellow, and v sound in woman, water, watch. And this is the categorization of consonants based on the manner of articulation. Now let's discuss about the next branch of phonetics, that is acoustic phonetics. Acoustic phonetics discusses about the process involved in the transmission of speech sounds. It deals with the acoustic properties, that is physical properties of sound waves. And these characteristics have to do mainly with small variations in air pressure that can be sensed by the ear and studied by instruments such as spectrograph and oscillograph. The variations in the air pressure that are of greatest importance are fundamental frequency, amplitude, and formants. Generally, a wave, as you all know, as you all have studied in your physics classes, a wave possesses certain features. The main properties of waves are as follows. The first property is amplitude. Amplitude can be defined as the maximum displacement of the wave from the mean position of the wave. It is the maximum height from the center of the line to the crest or to the trough. The crest is thus the highest point of the wave and the trough is the lowest point of the wave. This is amplitude. The second property of a wave is frequency. The number of vibrations passing a fixed point in a given moment of time is called frequency. The frequency is measured in unit hertz. And the third property is wavelength. Wavelength is the distance between two identical points, either crest or trough. That is the distance between two crests or the distance between two troughs. It is measured in meters. Another character that is important to a sound wave is pitch. Higher the frequency, higher the pitch, as you all might be knowing. The fundamental frequency is another important term. The fundamental frequency of speech sound is the rate of repetition of the cycles of air pressure. The rate of repetition of the cycles of air pressure is the definition for the fundamental frequency of speech sounds. The lowest frequency component of the waveform is called fundamental frequency, which can be denoted as F0, which we hear as the basic pitch of a speaker's voice. So, let me make it very clear, the basic pitch of a speaker's voice can be defined as the fundamental frequency, which is actually the lowest frequency component of a waveform. The next topic that we are going to discuss is phonemes and allophones. So, first, phonemes. Phonemes are the minimal distinctive units of sound which cannot be further divided. They are the minimal distinctive units of speech sounds which cannot be further divided. Example, the sounds p, l, m, and each single sound in this manner are called phonemes. There is no further division possible for these kinds of units of sound, and it is also called minimal unit. And another important term that you must be familiar with is minimal pairs. When one phoneme is replaced by another, the meaning of the word changes, and such pair of words are called minimal pairs. Minimal pairs are those pair of words when one phoneme is replaced by another, the meaning of the word changes. Example for a minimal pair is the words pin and bin. Here, when the per sound is replaced by ber sound, the meaning of the word changes and we get two entirely different words, pin and bin. And thus, this is an example for minimal pairs. And thus, we can say that phonemes are in contrastive distribution. What is contrastive distribution? When the replacement of one phoneme by another causes a change in meaning, this can be called as contrastive distribution. When the meaning changes when a replacement takes place, it is called contrastive distribution. This also means that when one sound occurs, the other sound also can occur at the same time. For example, both per and ber sound can occur in a word initially and word finally. So, this is the topic phonemes. Let us move on to the next topic, allophones. Allophones are the variations of same phoneme. Since they are variations, the substitution of one phoneme with another does not cause a change in meaning. So, allophones are variations of the same phoneme, and since it is the substitution of one phoneme with another phoneme, another version of the same phoneme, there is no change in meaning, and thus the difference is realized only in pronunciation, not in meaning, and thus they are phonemically the same but phonetically different. Phonemically the allophones are same, but phonetically they are different since there is a difference in pronunciation. Thus allophones can be described as different concrete phonetic realizations of the same phoneme which occur in different phonetic environments. For example, there are aspirated and unaspirated varieties of voiceless plosives in English. So, the voiceless plosives are p, k and t sound. There are aspirated and unaspirated varieties. There are aspirated allophones and unaspirated allophones for these voiceless plosives in English. The next topic that we are going to discuss is phonotactics. So, what is phonotactics? There are certain phonological rules which English words conform to above and beyond patterns of allophonic variations. These rules are different from those of other languages, and thus we can say that phonotactics of one language is entirely different from the phonotactics of another language. These rules concerning how sounds can be sequenced to form possible words of a language are called phonotactic rules or simply phonotactics. So, phonotactics are basically the rules concerning how speech sounds are sequenced to form possible words of a language. And the possible words which obey these kinds of phonotactics are called well-formed words, and those remaining sequence which does not conform to the phonotactic rules are ill-formed words. And certain phonotactic rules which English words should conform to is: words must contain at least one vowel. That is a rule that we all are familiar with. That is, words must contain at least one vowel, and the word cannot begin with a sequence of stops or plosives. A word should not or cannot begin with a sequence of plosives. A word can begin with no more than 2 voiceless consonants. And let me give you some phonotactic rules. All phonological words must contain at least one syllable, and thus there should be at least one vowel in every possible word. Sequences of repeated consonants are not possible in a language to form a meaningful word. The velar ng sound never occurs in the onset of a syllable. Onset, as you all know, is the part of that syllable that occurs before the nucleus. The glottal fricative h sound never occurs at the coda of the syllable, and coda is the part of that syllable that comes after the nucleus of that word. Another topic of our discussion is alternation. Alternation is concerned with changes to a particular word's pronunciation depending on the phonetic context in which it occurs. So, based on the difference in the phonetic context, based on the difference in the land, the area where the words are spoken, there are differences in the pronunciation of the words. And this rule is actively applied to words by North American English speakers. So far, we have discussed the very basic details that you all must know regarding phonetics, which is a branch of linguistics. Hope I have made things clear for you. Thank you.